Hello and welcome to Gearhead Geeks, where today we are going to be changing the tire on this H2 using a Rabaconda tire changer. So let's get to it. Starting. First thing we'll do is take off these covers. Which on this bike are fairly easy to do. We've got our tools basically all set up, ready to go, so it makes life a ton easier. And there we go. Now, for our next trick, get the pipe off. And now we need to go get a 12mm wrench and grab the right Allen driver. And it didn't fall into a black hole yet. Alrighty, so here we go. Get this off. And we got our pipe ready to go. Okay, now get a little air. And we'll knock this wheel off. And as you notice, the bike is up on the stand, which is just normally just a sitting strap. And that's all done. Well, there's just some washers on here that are going to fall off, and our tire is off. So you can see, relatively simple on an H2. What we might end up doing here is also servicing this rear hub. Thing's got a lot of miles on it, like 74,000, and I've only serviced the hub about twice. So we'll be going through that. So okay, so the first thing we need to do is get the air out of the tire so we can get it ready to dismount. Prop it up here, move the cap, and here we go. Okay, the air be escaping. Okay, and while that's happening, let's just go right on over to our Rabaconda and get it ready. Take this off, get our duck head out of the way, put our tire on here, put our centering device in. Now, what you do need to do is make sure that these magnetic tire stops are in place, and they tell you how to adjust it in the manual. But it's relatively easy. Just make sure that it's going to touch the rim. So now our next trick is to dismount the tire on both sides. So we take the Rabaconda tool thing here, and we take it, and you want to get it as close to the rim as possible, and just push the bead until it breaks. And you can then rotate it around and put your center back in and hit it again. Okay, the bead is basically broken on this side anyway. So next, remove the tool, look at your center, and break the other side. If you don't break both sides, you will struggle dramatically. This in. Get that all centered up the best you can. Alright, same drill. And here we go. Okay, and now we rotate it around a little bit. Oops. And again, break it. Okay, get around a bit more and break it. And we're done. All right, now we're going to turn the wheel back around. I guess it really doesn't matter, but it seems to be the easiest. Okay, so now our bead is broken, and what we want to do now is position, put on our duck head, and you get it adjusted so that it fits. Yeah. And the first time you use a Rabaconda, it can be a bit of a struggle, but once you get the hang of it, it's not too bad. It's a well-built machine, that's for sure. Now, what they tell you to do is to rotate the duck head to the 6 o'clock position. And you can do it this way, this is just fine. And the reason they want you to do that, is so that you can use this tool to push in on the, and make sure your tire goes into the drop center. And the drop center is the inside of the wheel. This is what you use to give yourself some space. So now, they give you a tire iron, and they also tell you to lube things up. So we've got a little soapy water, and this is nothing more than some Dawn in water, just enough to give you a little bit of lubrication here. And then they say you need to take your tire iron and push it in through here. Make sure it's in through your drop center so you can get it started, and pull it up, and there's a little hook that automatically latches. Okay, now what they tell you to do is take the tool and start working your way around. Oops, excuse me, they tell you to do one more thing. You've got this pin that needs to go in here to stop the wheel from turning. And there we go. So here we go. Let's see if we can get this thing to do its thing. And oops, it slipped off the pin. Get the pin out there a little bit. No, pin doesn't want to stay there. Okay, here we go. And no, it's slipping over the pin. Oh, and that is because our wheel is really not centered in there anymore. That's better. Let's see if this helps. That looks like it's going. And here it goes. And the tire comes off. And that's that one. Okay, with the duck head turned in the 6 o'clock position, the secret to this is getting your tire pulled all the way out as far as you can. Pull that up here. Get the tire iron underneath. Everything pulled out hard. Then you should be able to just pull it over the top of the duck head. Put your tool in, and away we go. And it is removing the tire. Well, we slipped on that again, but that's okay. For an H2, you kind of need a longer pin to hold it in place, or use the strap, but it doesn't matter. We've got it. The tire is off and ready for the new one to go back on. Okay, so the first thing that we have to do when you're going to mount the tire is we need to establish the direction the tire is going to go. So in our case, our wheel spins this way. If we look on the tire, there's a arrow pointing which direction to go. In this particular case, let's see if you can see it. It says rear goes that way. So we know that we need to mount our tire this way. And then the next thing they say to do is to always use bead grease. So we've got some Murphy's bead grease. So we are going to grease up the edges of our rims, of our tube, the edges of our tire, the lip, and do both sides. And it's a fairly big tub of it, and it'll probably last me the rest of my life. And then they say to not only lube up the bead, but to lube up the duck head. Okay, and we will do that. So we are all lubed up. Our tire is in the proper position. So then they say, take this and put the tire over the top of that and put it over the top of the duck head. So right in here, the duck head's visible. It's pushed over the top, and now we just push this on as much as we can. Then we get our tool, and we will bring it around. And the tire pretty much slips right on. That was fairly easy. Okay, now we're going to be doing the same thing with the other bead. We get it over here, and we push this down as much as we can, and they tell you to use these bead holders. So we will use one. We'll push this in here the best we can. I think it goes this way. And this will hold the tire down in our drop center. So doing that, here we go. Keeping the tire pushed into the drop center the best that we can. I have to admit, that bead grease does seem to help a lot. And the tire is in. That was fairly simple. Okay. We've got that. We can loosen this up. Pull everything apart. Get this out of here. And the tire is mounted. Okay, now that the tire is mounted, we need to air it up. So let's get it off the stand here. Move this off the way. And we've got to make sure that the bead is fairly even all the way around so that it will air up. Now let's give this a try. and away we go. And we just air it up until we hear both these pop. Aim it away from your face. There's one. And two. So we're aired up, and now we're ready to go ahead and balance this. So we'll be right back. We'll get the balancer set up and go from there. Okay, now we have put the wheel in the balancer, and on the H2 it's a little tough. There's usually a special attachment to be able to put it into a balancer. I did something a little different. I just took a piece of aluminum and machined it down so it's the exact size, so it fits right inside the hub, and the hole in the center is the exact same size as the shaft over here. And that keeps the wheel from moving back and forth, and that will allow us to balance. This piece right here fits exactly on the shaft, and it keeps the wheel from doing this. So to balance the wheel, the first thing we have to do is establish our heavy spot. So we had let the wheel sit. We'll turn it 90 degrees, and it is heading back toward that heavy spot. As you can see, it's just rolling back and forth fairly easily. We'll slow it down a bit. And it's pretty much right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to the other side. We're going to go 180 degrees, and I've taken a couple weights and put tape on them so I can move them around easily. And we'll put a weight here on the heavy spot, on the light spot, excuse me, and we will rotate it back 90 degrees. And we're still heavy. Okay. So let's get another, we'll take another 20, which we taped up, excuse me, falling down on the ground, and we will put it next to it. Okay. We should be getting closer now. So we take our light spot, and it's still a little bit, so it has a little bit of weight on it. It's not as much as it was, but it's still, and it's just moved over a little bit. So we got one more. This time we'll use a 10. Go over to our heavy spot, our light spot, excuse me. Put it on there. And now, how'd we do? Well, that's pretty good. Wherever we put the wheel, it is staying right where we put it. So our wheel is balanced. There's quite a bit of weight on it, 50, but I've seen worse. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'll tap these weights on. And let me take this weight, and I will get it loose and tap it on. Down to the bottom and give it a wrap, and that's it. So now all the weights are tapped on, our wheel stays wherever we put it, and we are balanced. Thanks everybody for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. In the future we're going to be doing motorcycle projects, general maintenance on your motorcycle, how to restore parts, how to replate some things, just general things that you can do so you don't have to send out and spend a lot of money to maintain your motorcycles or whatever projects we're working on. Again, thanks everybody for watching. See you next time.